Hi everyone, I'm Maddie.
And I'm Amber.
And we're
Witches Talking Tarot.
And today we're going to be discussing the spiritual significance and a couple other fun facts about deer, moose, and elk.
The cervines. Last time it was bovines. Yes, these are the cervines. I didn't know until we did the research. Because I didn't know. Yeah, I knew there had to be something because they all got a thing, right? Because horses are equine, you know what I mean?
Horses and zebras and...
Yeah, we'll get to them, guys. Well, I'm actually really excited to them. But I'm really excited about all the fun facts that I learned about mostly deer, right? Because, okay, so...
I learned a lot about deer.
Fun fact about moose, they can swim underwater, right?
Yeah, that's why
they die.
Orcas eat them. They're the number one food for orcas.
Orcas are like, these land bitches think they can own shit down here. We'll show them.
Oh my God, orcas are horrible.
I know you hate them. I love
orcas,
animals.
And you know what, Amber? I can't even put alligators on that either. Maybe crocodiles. Fuck a crocodile. Fuck a sea crocodile. But I'm kind of really liking alligators. The videos keep popping up, and I keep watching them, and the more I watch them, I like them more.
Wally's put a spell on you. You walk past him once a week.
But, I
have alligators around my house, guys.
My husband's like, Maddie, you have to watch Blackfish or whatever. And I'm never...
Oh my God, it's so sad.
I'm not watching that. Nothing against the orcas in that case, but I'm not watching it because why would I watch it? It's very important and very it's but I don't want to watch it. It's sad.
It hit me right here.
Okay, so I'm just not gonna watch it.
It's so sad.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
Oh my God. Just real quick, did you make sure that you return? Okay.
Yes, I did.
Mine was halfway so I was just
yeah.
It started, I just wanted to make sure, Anyway, sorry guys, just making sure the equipment was all doing the thing right.
But it is
Blackfish just fucking sad.
Yeah,
it's fucking sad. And I don't hate any animal for being an animal.
Right.
I mean, I get that some of their behaviors are but then again, some human behaviors are so it's
I hate them. It just falls into that phobia, with alligators, specifically alligators and orcas. I don't want to be anywhere near them.
Oh yeah, no. I don't.
You know what I mean?
I'm glad they decided to live in the ocean.
Yeah,
because at one point whales lived on land.
Right.
They chose to live in the ocean.
Right, yeah.
And I am glad. I'm glad they chose. They made the right choice for me.
I just want to stay away. I don't wish any ill harm on them.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not
going to sit there and say make boots out of them or anything like that. That's horrible. But politely stay away from me. And I say that as someone who lives in Missouri. So
right, yeah, no.
I have to worry about that shit.
I'm just picturing some cartoon I've seen where it's an orca. I feel like it is specifically an orca, but maybe it's just some other sea creature that eats things that are meaty, like people. But it's got a little land suit on and it's walks onto land.
God.
No, thank you. No, thank you. But we are only talking about orcas because they eat moose, which are the largest of the cervines, with elk being the second largest. And then all the deer are a little bit smaller than that, which I guess reindeer, caribou's probably the biggest of the deer, quote unquote. And the elk is also called a wapiti or wapiti, and I did not know that. I had no idea.
Moose are so fucking big, you don't even realize it when you see a comparison or
right.
Up close, and it's
holy shit, yeah.
They're huge and they're scary. They're not.
They can be very aggressive. They are dangerous.
I've seen videos where people are they look outside and there's a moose right out there, and they're nope, fuck that shit. I'm going back inside because. They're more aggressive.
They're so powerful.
Yeah, they are.
Even if they're not trying,
right.
They can hurt you.
Exactly.
But also, they're not... I mean, they're so big. They're not meant for the human world, right? So, my mom used to call me... When I was growing up, my mom used to call me a bull in a china shop.
That's them. That's so sad.
That I was like, she should have called me a moose in a china shop because it would have been like much more accurate.
Well,
Because it's like they're so just like they got these long lanky legs and it's like they're going everywhere and like I don't know that you ever watched Northern Exposure, but it was a show about Alaska. And in the intro is a moose walking through town and it was always like there was always like this one guy that would like get attacked by the moose when it was in town because like I'm pretty sure that was a thing. I mean, I was a kid and it was a show for adults, so I watched it while my mom was watching it. So I only picked up on like the fun parts, you know. And so like the moose being in town, to me that was fun. Right. But to them it was all scary. Yeah, because like if the moose gets in the china shop, it's all over.
And then there are some times where like I've seen videos of like 2 male mooses fighting, and then they make it into town while they're fighting. That's terrifying because they will literally stab your ass and not even do it in town.
Exactly, not on purpose. They're just so big.
They are,
and they're like. They're not even necessarily being aggressive towards people. Right. They're just being like, you know, usually if the 2 bulls are going at each other, it's because it's probably mating season or something, or they're defending a calf or something like that. And, you know, I say defending a calf, but when I was doing my research, apparently like elk are the ones that will like ferociously defend their young.
God, anything with horns like that. Even stags. Fuck that, they will stab your ass.
Well, right, but like apparently elk, like they're the most protective over their young. Like, you know, with in the deer colonies that you don't usually necessarily see the bucks or the stags with the does or
right. I mean, look,
you know,
it's dad. That motherfucker was like randomly distant. You know what I mean?
Right. And it's because of nature. I mean, because in nature, that's really how they are. And did you know originally Bambi was supposed to be was it a roe deer? I think it was a roe deer, as opposed to the whitetail that they made him.
I love a good whitetail deer. They're so beautiful.
But you know, when you're always talking about the big horns, that's a red deer, not a whitetail. Really? Yeah.
Even
the big ones, the biggest of those deer are red deer, like the one like Serranos.
Now, do we have any? Right. And
he's a red deer, and
yes. Okay. So I
so
know
much cool stuff. I learned so much cool stuff.
But what the fuck was I gonna say?
Okay, but like, because you're always talking about like the forest protector, and you always describe this deer, and it's a red deer, not a whitetail.
Right. It's
because you always say stag, and red deer are stags. Whitetails are always bucks. Right. Apparently, only red deer are stags. Like, I don't think any of the other deer, like mule deer or whatever, like. There's like deer are really cool, guys.
They are very interesting and they're so beautiful.
They are majestic.
Deer for me. And not just me, but a lot of European culture, including Scotland and Ireland. And I think that's the biggest, and Welsh and Finland, I think.
Deer are big. Well, so in Finland, the moose was pretty big, right? And up in like Siberia, reindeer are very like the Sami people. It's a part of their culture. But like in Greece and like mainland Europe, the red deer and the roe deer are really big. I don't think they have many whitetail, but maybe they do have whitetail over there.
Whitetail's really popular around here.
We have lots of whitetail around these parts.
And they're beautiful. They're just as beautiful.
They are beautiful.
But a good European red deer is gorgeous.
You know what? I'm going to say that I think the roe deer had the cutest face in my opinion. Because they all have a different face. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because of Bambi, I pictured deer as cuter, right?
Yeah.
And then one day when a deer was like running outside my car, I like got a good look at it and I was like, ugh. Them bitches is kind of long-faced, ugly motherfuckers.
No!
Yes. But some of them are cute and don't have the longer, like, more angular face. They have a more cute appearance. Look, I mean, humans, genetically, we're supposed, like, softer angles are supposed to be more appealing to us because it's reminiscent of our young. So I'm sure that's why, like, the white-tailed deer, I'm like, they're not as cute as they should be because there are other deer out there that are a little bit cuter. But I also didn't know about the different, like, I assumed that the white-tailed deer over in Scotland or whatever were just a little bit bigger or something. I didn't realize that it was red deer.
Right.
Yeah, like they're related, but they're not the same.
Well,
yeah, like super cool.
Deer specifically, because I did so much research on deer, and I did a little research on moose and elk, but like deer was just such a big one, especially in. I mean, everywhere, but
they're found naturally everywhere except for Antarctica and Australia. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that specifically deer have permeated all of those cultures, like completely.
Well, and they're associated with the goddess Artemis.
Yep, in Greek.
In Greek and Hellenic culture, Artemis being the virgin goddess of the hunt. And is she the moon? Yes?
Yes, Diana. She's in Roman, she is Diana, and she is the moon, and she's associated with deer.
They're also associated with the Celtic god Serona.
Yes. And in Celtic, they have the masculine aspect as well as the feminine aspect of deer that they celebrate. And the feminine aspect is like, I don't know how to say it. It was like EIHIL or IR. And then the masculine one, it was, I can't remember the word, but it was a 4-letter word. And it wasn't starting with an E. It was like, I think it was like SAHM or something like that. But it was really, I found it very interesting because the male and the female deer have their own aspects, as we well know, but they like specifically celebrate those in the Celtic because deer are so big. Whoopsie. Deer. Oh, you're good. I was just like, maybe I'll pull it a little closer. But they're like so exactly the duality. Yeah.
It's doe, right?
Yeah, I think when it's a stag, so one of them, it's a doe for sure, like a buck and a doe. And then with the stag, I can't remember if the female was still called a doe or if it had a different name. Because like there's also only one kind of deer is called a hart. Right. And I've heard of like in old medieval literature, you hear about harts all the time, HART. I even think it like a hart is a big part of the Snow White. The heart of the forest, but I was going to say the snow white tail. Like, I feel like specifically a heart is involved in like that, like something when you read it, I don't know. I just look old medieval stuff. I liked learning that. I'm just going to pull it a little closer so we don't do that again.
I'm so sorry,
no, you didn't do like, you're good. But, I'm sorry because I'm all up in here, guys.
Something else that was really interesting is when I was doing research specifically on the Celtic and the European type, because they're also very popular in
Asia.
America,
and America, yes.
Everywhere. But they're also known as kind of the fairy.
Yes, they are.
What is it?
The deer. So in the not the Kaliak episode. Yeah, the Kaliak episode and the Banshee episode, we talk about how the fairy are said to be the herders of the deer.
Yes.
But also when I was reading, I learned that the deer are said to call men over to the fairy land. And if you, like when we were talking about doing this episode, I was saying like I've had a calling to deer ever since like I had that weird banshee thing happen that I told you about it. I've never told you guys about it because it's weird. I did talk about it when I was talking to Dustin on his show once because it's a little crazy. Yeah. Anyway, I've never mentioned it on here because it's a little crazy, but it was around the time of the banshee, and also when I started seeing deer all the fucking time, like all the time, and around the same time that I realized that, like, when I talk about deer, they come around, and I was like having not a spiritual psychosis, but just one of those I'm learning things and like, am I a family banshee? Because you'd have to go listen to that episode. I'm not going to get into it. But the whole thing with the deer calling people to the fairylands totally made like, it was just like this whole full circle thing where I was like, it goes hand in hand with the fairy herding deer and that being like their cattle. That was what it is. They're fairies' cattle. But that also when they're trying to hide, they'll turn into looking like a woman. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah.
My husband's mother gave us a couple pounds of deer meat.
Venison. Yeah, I always forget what it's called. That's why I said it because in this research it kept.
For me, like venison is good in chili. and I like the salami, but I'm not a big fan. I mean, it's good.
I've had it as jerky. I like it as jerky.
It's just, it's very.
You know what? I've had
gamey.
it as a burger, I
I'd say
think,
gamey.
too.
I've had
Maybe
a
I've had a
burger, and it's similar.
Dude, bison burgers are
You
bomb.
like those? I did not like it. It's a texture. The texture is so different than cow or cattle or something like that. It's
Sorry, I forgot.
Taste.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. But do people eat elk? I don't think so. Do they? I don't think so.
The Native Americans did.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, and they used every part of it because, like, the elk horns, they would make knives from. They would use the skin to make, like, clothing and moccasins.
I know that people in Alaska.
I'm sorry if I shouldn't. Maybe just shoes. I don't know if moccasin is a specific tribal term or not. So I apologize for if I misstepped, guys.
I know that they eat moose or no. Caribou and moose are two different things.
Caribou is caribou is elk.
Elk, okay. So I know they eat those in Alaska.
No, caribou is reindeer. My bad. Caribou is reindeer. Wapiti is elk. I was familiar with the term caribou, but I didn't know that. Okay, so caribou is wild, and reindeer is what we have. Okay, so the only time that we have really successfully domesticated deer, because like we breed them like in captivity for like they're not domesticated. Like we do breed some like deer and moose and caribou or elk in ourselves, but mostly for like the use of like zoos and parks and whatever, right? Or I guess the use of parks, maybe it's like breeding programs to bring them back. But like the only time, like, so there's some people who like they try to domesticate deer, and it's like sometimes it goes really poorly because they don't properly take care of them, and like because so many deer are living in a close quarters when they normally wouldn't in the wild, disease spreads. So then if they get out into the natural population by foraging, then it spreads disease to the natural population. But so like there are some people who on a small scale kind of domesticate them, but they're not really domesticating them. They're just improperly breeding them for the use of like those places you can pay to go hunt a captive deer. That's usually what's going on there. It's not that they've like caught wild deer. It's that they have some deer that they started breeding, and they're not like regulating the breeding or anything like that, because you guys get, if they're getting paid to, you get the deal, right? Like they don't care about it. It's gross. Yeah, I can't even. If you don't get it, I'm sorry. You'll have to look it up. But like if you aren't picking up what I'm putting down, I don't want to say the rest out loud. But anyway, so like it is so unethical, and I guess that's also where you get deer pee from too. Like the hunters that buy deer pee, it would come from those same kind of farms.
Like for hunting for me, like hunting deer, I think it's one of the
it's like
ethical, if you do it correctly, ways of containing meat. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Because like as opposed to getting
for slaughter,
right? Yeah, or like going and getting like mass produced meat.
Right.
By that I mean like mass farmed meat. Right. But like like if you're ethically hunting deer, like that has been like that is age old.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
That's how people have taken care of themselves for a really long time.
With moose, like in Alaska, I think I've never had moose. I've never had elk moose either. But we live in Missouri, so do we have elk?
I've had elk, but it's like I've got it because of like a specialty meat thing. You know what I mean?
Did it taste like deer, or was it gamey? Or
I liked elk better than I liked deer.
Really?
I can say that for sure. But like, as you guys know, I can't eat meat anymore. Right, yeah. So like, it's not something I ate often enough that I could really say what it tastes like. I just know I liked it better.
When I try moose, I can't see myself eating a moose. They're so smart.
I would think I was eating Rocky and Bullwinkle.
I know, they're just like.
I love Bullwinkle. They are. They're majestic as fuck. Yeah. Like deer, we've been hunting for eons and eons. And maybe the northern people, because moose only exists like at the top part of the world, up in like North America and like Northern Europe and Siberia. But like caribou, in the northern parts of the world where caribou exist, like in Finland and up in the top of Russia, people have managed to to not dominate them, but yes, dominate them. there's a word for it, domesticate them, dominate them through domestication. And that's what we know of as reindeer. That was the whole point of all of that with the farming of the deer thing, was to get to the point that, so reindeer is the domesticated version of wild caribou.
Man.
That was what I read. And I didn't know, like, I didn't really know
My
the difference
kids
until I read that.
Are obsessed with Frozen, which takes place up north.
Hell yeah.
And it's very Scandinavian, and there's reindeer. And so there's this song that's like, reindeer are better than people. And it's
Yes, they are.
True. Like, I love this song. He's like, wouldn't you say it's true?
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's a whole ass song.
They said that, like, people up in Siberia, I think, they ride the bigger reindeer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because they're, domesticated. Right. So, yeah, I was like, I want to ride a fucking reindeer. Like, only if it wants me to ride it.
I know that,
but I do. If it wants me to, I do.
They'll pull carts and things like that or whatever. So, like, but that's the...
But, like, one thing that I was reading about, specifically the domestication of reindeer, it's not done for profit. This is a way of life. Like, for the Sami people, they don't profit off of it. They follow the herd, and they,
Is it like with cows, like in our previous episode with the...
Like the original way that cows were? I think so, and it stayed that way. They don't like... I don't think they mass farm it. Now, I'm sure corporations have gotten involved in places because that's what happens nowadays. But, like, the Sami people specifically and, like, the people of Siberia that, like, this is their way of life... It's cold.
It's fucking, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
It's
fucking cold. There's not a lot to eat. Right. And this is a way of life for them. And so it's not like they don't do it for profit.
No,
they do it because
so much.
Right, exactly. Like they pull they pull some of the stuff. Yeah, they use the horns. They
droppings. I think they can.
They probably can. They probably dry them out and use them for fire.
Like reindeer and those people are like ancient people and cows were, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
They do so
I agree.
much.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because, like, around the same time that we're seeing the cave paintings with oryx, deer and moose are making their way into those same cave paintings in, like, that same Pleistocene era. I'm sorry, guys. I inhaled some dust. But did you already say the thing about Hindu?
Oh, no. And so what was really cool when I was doing this research was that deer were associated with, like, wisdom in the Hindu lore because it was wise of people to realize, hey, we can eat this thing. And hey, not only can we eat this thing, but we can also use its fur to make blankets and coats. And, well, probably not coats.
And lodging and protection from the elements. And so I was like, I didn't want to take that. So absolutely. I was like, but that's exactly how the Sami people are using these animals. And I mean, because they are using them and they probably are giving back to the animals as well because it's a symbiotic relationship. Exactly. Because it's their way of life and they're not abusing the privilege of having these animals available. And I think it's beautiful that it's like, it's actually like a way of life. Like, this is how they've lived for like ever. Peoples. Yeah. Yes, like absolutely. For fucking ever.
And the cows episode was so interesting. Check that out. I think it was a couple episodes back.
I am still kind of obsessed with cows. And because in my daily job, I see both deer and cows every day. Yeah. And so, like, because I've been all over the state of Missouri lately, I've been seeing baby cows. I've been seeing baby lambs. I even got to see pigs the other day. Yep, they were all black. I've never seen just an entire like pen and they're all black pigs. I've never seen that before. But they didn't have any pink. They didn't have any spotted ones. And I saw some fancy ass roosters. Spring has sprung, but I got to see so many babies and that was the whole point. It's just been fun. I got to see a lot of babies.
A baby cow a couple times with my friend. She had baby cows. No. The motherfuckers are mean.
Oh, because they're headbutting? Yeah, because they're trying to get the milk stirred up. Exactly. Just like human babies. I'm not going to give YouTube a show. I was about to, imitate that. Sorry, guys.
This cow popped my fucking rib out of place. It hit me so hard. And not just once, but, like, if you're
multiple
feeding
times
them with a bottle, like, they're going to beat your ass. And their poor mothers. I mean, they're getting headbutted just as much. Like, I don't know if goats do that or if deers do that or if it's just a cow thing, but holy
Well,
crap.
I mean, I know that just like human babies do this thing,
Uh-huh.
um, dog and cat babies,
Oh, the
they need
kneading.
it, you know.
Yes.
And I think because these are hooved animals, they can't need it. I'm
Uh-huh.
pretty sure all of the hooved animals use their head because I've
Oh
seen it.
gosh.
Although with deer, they don't have like an udder.
No, they
You know,
don't. What do
like
is it like a
it's just
dog?
teats.
Okay.
One kind of deer only has two teats, so that means they could
Huh.
only have two
Two
babies max.
babies.
But honestly,
They usually only
you
have
only
one.
have one or two. Yeah,
Right, right. You
yeah,
usually
you
only
don't
have
see
one, and if they
multiples.
have two, it's not likely the other one will survive unless
Well, I mean, the I don't know about the
there's
not
twins in
surviving
this
of
one.
the second one, but at the same time, like they're not an animal that has a litter. You know,
Right.
they only
Well, they're
have
so fucking big.
they are
It's
so
like
fucking
cows. It's not popular, or it's not common that cows have more than one because
right.
they're just so big.
Yeah, I think because what I read is they usually have one or two.
Uh huh.
So, like, I think it's probably more common for cervines to
Uh huh.
have a second offspring,
Uh huh.
but it's still not super common. Because, like, what I was reading is like the baby, it'll immediately be trying to go off with mom to get food, and she'll have to push it down into the grass and be like, "No, stay." And
Oh,
like,
those those baby deers are so
I
little.
know, and like,
And
I won't lie, like,
that's what
I
I was gonna
learned. Oh,
say.
go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I remembered it earlier. I just have to tell you, I saw the funniest video. It was sad. This guy steps out on his porch, and like you see the ring camera, he takes a step outside here. It's a baby fucking deer. Steps on the baby deer. You saw it?
I think
I
you
think I
sent it
sent
to
it to
me.
you. The
Yeah.
mom shows up and is
I was
like,
like,
"What
what
the
the
fuck?"
fuck?
Why did you even
Yeah.
let the? Why the porch? I mean, other than like
I think the baby probably took off and wound up on the
on
porch
the
because,
porch.
during when I was reading up on deer and stuff like that, I happened to come across like this
Deers.
article that was like talking about like the when the deer is born, the mom like licks it completely clean
Uh-huh.
so that it gets all of the scent of like birth off of it so that predators don't immediately smell it.
Uh-huh.
And then like she's got to go off and like feed, and the baby wants to follow her, and she's like no, and she'll have to push it down with her hoof into the little grass thing. And that most of the time, because like deer don't have babysitters, deer go off to eat without their babies, and they try to get their babies to stay in this den because that's the safest place for the baby to be. So like often when you come upon a baby that's just like in a den of grass like chilling,
Just leave it alone.
just leave it alone because the mom's probably off eating. And I was like, because I know
It's the
I've
same
seen
with
so many
rabbits,
videos, I've seen so many TikToks where people are like, oh, we brought this home, and with rabbits as well. We found them in the grass and their mom's no around, and it's like, she's out there, leave them alone. Like,
Right.
and even Missouri Department of Conservation
We'll say
just
leave it
put out, well, they just put out an article in their latest magazine that specifically says like they're better off without you. Like
Yes.
whether the mom's coming back or not, leave them alone. They're wild animals. They know how to take care of themselves. And it's got a picture of the cutest little baby raccoons. But okay,
Fuck
you
that.
know.
I'm not touching one of them. Like, I know it's a baby, but I'm still not
That's
touching
yeah.
like,
Yeah, I feel
the
that way
thing
about
is, it's not
possums.
that way about possums though, because
I know I knew that.
because if a baby possum, a little baby possum, you find it by itself, it fell off its mom, and the mom's not coming back. That's one of, and they will die. That's one of the ones that they say, hey, maybe you should like call somebody to help them.
Fair enough.
You know, baby possums hang on to their mamas.
Yeah.
You know? And if they fall off, mom's like, I got 20
Yeah,
more.
and that is the difference between being a marsupial and just a regular mammal.
Exactly. And it's so funny you mentioned I'm not doing that with a possum. That's the one you should.
No, I'm not ever touching a possum.
I
Although
know.
I did pet Ferdinand, my buddy Uriah's pet possum.
Yeah.
I don't know how I don't know how they have Ferdinand. I don't. But he was really cute, and his tail felt like a snake, which surprised the shit out of me. Not expecting
grandpa
that. But
had
possums
two
just kind of freak me
babies.
out. They
Two
freak
baby
me out.
possums that he found, and they were by themselves. And she called the conservation, and they used to hang on his little on his fingers and stuff like that. But yeah, possums unfortunately will just die. It sucks.
It does suck. I mean, but but that wasn't the point.
No,
we were just talking about deer and baby deer because they're fucking cute. And I wasn't gonna take it back to moose, but just for a second, I'm just gonna say that like moose babies are so cute. That mom will fuck you up, but it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the pictures online.
Right, exactly.
Because
if I saw a baby moose, I'm going in the opposite direction. That's like a bear.
It's a bear cub. Yeah. Nope. You got to get out of there because like cervines are very protective of their family, at least the mothers. There's a lot of wild animals, especially forest animals, right? So think about it. Like you're a forest animal. You live not in a big pack. It's you and your young, and the males might kill your young, at least with a bear, but also like a moose. I don't know. I didn't read this about moose or caribou or elk or deer. So I don't know if they're like some of the predator animals that will kill the babies so that they can mate with the mother, but and get that young, that tasty fatty flesh, I guess. But anyway, but they're, their babies are all fucking cute, but their mothers are all very protective. So stay away from those cute babies. I can't remember what I was going to say about the deer, though. A deer, like, yeah.
They really will, like, swamp your ass.
They will. And, like, if a male deer is in rut, he will come at you with his horns because they're aggressive at that time, because they're amped up to fight other males, because their antlers are made to interlock so they don't have to actually damage their heads or possibly cut each other, like stab each other, but they can like interlock and fight dominance, right? And that is why well, I was going to say that is why they're associated with protection, but that is not why they're associated with protection. That is probably why they're associated with perseverance and fertility, because they are just so, it's funny there, because the way I read it, right? Like not me, but the way it was written that I read was because they're so determined to see their genes move on, and you're like, they will fuck her to death.
Oh my God. That's put a little nicer than that, but
it's truth.
It is.
I mean, but they're associated with protection and fertility and rebirth and regeneration because they're antlers. Yeah. All of the deer kinds except for
moose. Do moose do it too?
Yes.
Okay.
Except for water deer and musk deer. The males all have antlers, and with reindeer and caribou, the females also have antlers that they shed every year and grow new. So they're associated with rebirth and regeneration.
I love that.
But also, I love the fact that you want to know why the water deer and the musk deer don't have that. Because they have fucking tusks.
Oh, that's right. I looked that up. That's so weird.
It was so weird. They don't have horns. They have tusks.
It looks ancient as fuck.
It
looks
does.
Like whatever. What's the tiger?
Yeah, saber-tooth. Yes, that is actually what I thought of when I saw them. Because I was like, what? Fucking tusks on a deer?
That's awesome.
What? I guess they're like the water deer's from Asia and was brought over to Europe. It got nicknamed the vampire deer.
I love that.
But other than that nickname, I haven't seen them associated with anything deer wise, not those deer specifically, but they're associated with that regeneration and rebirth because they literally regenerate that part of their body because it's attached to their skull. Like it grows out of their skull, and then it's used for magical things. At least the Native Americans use the antlers of deer or the elk. I didn't read about moose or caribou, but deer and elk they use as knife handles. And we've done I'm pretty sure we've already done the episode about athames. So we've discussed how the handle can be significant to what you want to do with that magic, and I think they're beautiful. I've seen lots of knives like that.
Absolutely.
And
it just goes to show that this type of animal gives so much.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, no, I agree because like you can get so much out of them, and you see them as a protector of the forest, like the deer. I see the deer as you brought up in the Celtic lore, they're very associated with fairies, and I see them as that other world traveler, like that's kind of my mental association without anything
Well, and they're
else,
like psychopomps as well in some cultures. They
Right.
go to and from, or would that
Well,
be?
that's what I meant by
Exactly.
otherworld traveler. Yeah, yeah. No, but you're right. I mean, I don't disagree, but I was like, that is,
That's exactly
yeah,
what I get
yeah,
you. I
yeah,
couldn't think of the word, and then I thought of
yeah.
it as you were
Every
talking.
once in a while, I say the wrong word. Is it psychopomps or is it? Yeah.
Do I? Am I saying the wrong?
Once in a while, I say the wrong thing because one means taking people to the underworld, and one is like being a psychopath and using people.
Oh
And it's
God!
like,
Right?
fuck, I can't remember now.
I say it
I
wrong. That's so
no,
funny.
because like I have also said, I mean, I've said I in this moment, I can't remember if psychopomp is the proper or the improper because I've said both of the word. Like I've said the right word and the wrong word, and I in this moment don't know which is which now. But fuck me. But yeah, the traveling between worlds and like I found it interesting that there was a lot of so deer have a lot of associations. Like they are associated with like gentleness
I
and
love that. I
yeah,
do. I love
like well, and so like they're associated with being protectors as well as associated with being gentle. They're associated with fertility. They're associated with regeneration and rebirth. And it almost seems like this duality kind of thing
that. It
that they represent.
And I love that because, like, for me, like the doe and the buck, the goddess and the god, like that's
Right.
just one of
You've
my
said that so many
biggest.
times. Yeah, no.
Yes, it's just one
No,
of
I
my biggest things.
yeah, no, and I loved reading that from like just the Celtic perspective of celebrating. And it's not just the Celts that celebrate both a feminine and masculine
Mm-hmm.
aspect along with specifically the deer. And I just like I thought that was really interesting from the standpoint of like how it's all connected. So it wasn't just the Celts.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot like the Buddhists, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Their in their iconography, if you see the tree of life with both a male and a female deer with it, it's supposed to represent the first teachings of the Buddha, which I found really
That
interesting.
is very interesting.
Yeah. And like, so one thing I was telling Maddie that I found really interesting was so in the deer, you've got all this duality and you've got the protector and like just kind of being like the deer in what I can't remember what path, like I can't remember what culture it was, but the deer was representative of being fuck, it was right there. I read it and it was right there in my head. Motherfucking fuck. The deer was representative of all that is good, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in a Native American belief system. Um, and like it was all about like living a good life, right? And then when I was reading about the elk and the spiritual significance with the
Mm-hmm.
elk, a lot of things that I read said like, there was this duality with the elk as well, but like the elk was associated with like more power than the deer was, which makes sense because the elk's much larger than the deer. And the elk was associated with like the most aggressiveness out of all the other cervines from what I read as far as the spiritual aspects went.
Mm-hmm.
And it said that the elk is basically about choosing how you're going to focus your power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like a step up, right? Because like the deer's like, this is what I got to do. Then the elk gets more powerful and he's like, do I want to do that or do
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something else? Like,
Right.
do I want to be constructively powerful or do I want to just kind of be tyrannical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that seems to be very much kind of like the energy around the elk from a spiritual perspective, right? And then when I was reading about the moose in spirituality, the moose has like it's like a very spiritual, like ascension spiritual animal. Like once you get to being connected with the moose, it's like walk the walk. The moose walks the walk.
Mm-hmm.
It walks the walk of its beliefs And if it shows up in your life, either it's asking you to pay attention and see, are you walking the walk? Are you doing what you say you do? Or if you are, maybe it's telling you to help someone else that needs some self-awareness. But essentially that like the elk, or like the deer's powerful. The elk is powerful and knows it and decides what it's going to do. The moose takes that power to a whole new level and walks the walk and doesn't give a shit about what anybody else thinks about it. And the moose does what needs to be done. And additionally, not only did like these seem to almost like spiritually ascend, right, through this level or through this spiral, but when we were in the Rocky Mountains, where all three of these animals naturally live in America, when my husband and I were in the Rocky Mountains, the deer are like, they're at ground level and higher. But the higher up you go, now you might see elk. And then if you go real high and deep into the mountains, you might see moose. And I thought that was very interesting from the standpoint of the way that the associations with them go makes me think of like moving up in a spiral. And then when you look at the way they live in the mountain ranges, it kind of also follows that same pattern. And I just thought that was really interesting.
I think that's very interesting. Definitely not a coincidence.
Yeah, I don't know. And like, moose are really cute, y'all. Like, I like moose. Mooses. I know it's not meese, right? Like, it feels like you should say meese, but I don't know. What do you guys think about deer or elk or moose or reindeer?
Let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
And thank you, Death by DVD.
Pam.
Victoria.
And Melissa.
We appreciate you so much. Thank you for being our patrons on patreon.com. If you guys would like a fun, spiffy shout out like those four just got, you can find us on patreon.com/Witches Talking Tarot. Excuse me.
Well, you can also find us on the socials at Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Witches Talking Tarot.
And you can find us on the X at Classiest Witches, because we're the classiest witches, you know.
Thanks for sitting with us for a spell.
Bye. Oh, shit.